when you have to do English essays and stuff like that, the most you're supposed to do is 4 pages of the
Mm.
story. But my stories were like 10 pages long because I can't stop. I don't know how people write short stories. I just kept going. My stories weren't graded because I went past the 4 pages. So I wasn't getting any grades for my English.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Unfiltered Voices, the podcast that is all about busting the myth that self-published is second-rate. I'm Kellie Nissen. I'm an author coach and a self-published author, and I'll be talking to authors, illustrators, and other self-published industry professionals about their choices, their journeys, and everything in between. So stick around. All right. Lee Taylor, welcome to Unfiltered Voices.
How you doing?
Yeah, good. I'm just going to introduce Lee to everybody. Lee Andrew Taylor is a multi-genre screenwriter and horror fiction author. Sharing a birthplace with George Eliot, Lee was born in Nuneaton, Warwickshire in 1969 and currently lives not too far away, I think, in Bedworth.
That's right.
Another Excellent. Another fun fact, which Lee has only just recently told me, is that movie director Gareth Edwards was born in the same town as Lee back in 1975, and he may well have even lived on the same street as Lee until Lee moved from Nuneaton in 1978. Anyway, moving on. Lee has written 6 horror-themed fiction novels and 13 various genre movie screenplays and has 4 new stories being written. And I meant to clarify this with you before, Lee. The 4 new stories, are they screenplays or novels?
I think it took me 18 months to write my last book,
Yeah.
and it kind of drained you after a while. So I'm going back to writing screenplays, and one of them is going to be animation. I think one's going to be a Santa Claus one,
Yes.
and one's going to be a thriller, and one's going to be a kind of a action comedy. So I'm going a bit different, yeah.
So I love horror, and I was when you first messaged me and I found out that you write horror, I went, oh, excellent. So I
Oh,
haven't had a screenwriter or a horror writer, so I'm so pleased that you agreed to come on.
okay.
Your list of achievements is quite impressive. So you've written for a British production company called Dark Image Studios,
Yeah, yeah,
and your screenplay, The Devil's Diary, reached the top 15% of screenplay ideas on Coverfly. Um,
yes.
and you've also been in discussions with producers, not only
Hmm.
in the UK where you live, but also in Canada and Singapore. So what is it that actually keeps you going? Why do you do this? For the rewards and accolades or something else?
I think for me, it's my imagination that keeps me going. If I can think about when I started writing, it'll be when I was in little school.
Mm,
Back in when I was in junior school. I don't know what you call it in Australia, but from the age of like 8 to 12 back then, I remember. I don't know what the stories were, but I remember writing stories for the smaller children to read. Well, the teachers to read to the smaller children, like nursery kids. I remember doing it because I remember the teachers saying, "Oh, you're very good at this," and I don't. I think I did the images as well
yeah.
back then. But I can't remember what they are now. So I was doing that at a young age, um, for the young kids. And then when I was like, you go to the big school, the
Yeah.
next one, and you have to do like English essays and stuff like that. You have to do like a story. I remember we supposed to do just the most you're supposed to do is 4 pages of the
Mm,
story. but my stories were like 10 pages long because I can't stop. I don't know how people write short stories. I just kept going. And what it was, my stories weren't graded because I went past the 4 pages. So I wasn't getting any grades for my English because I was getting told not to go past 4 pages, but I just that sounds good. I love that. I love that. I love that. From like when I was 13, 14, I was doing these really long stories. So I wasn't graded. So that for me, I think what keeps me going is my imagination. And I remember this. So in the early 90s, about 92, 93, I was doing a secretarial course. And I remember being in the class and some of these kids, well, they'll say the kids, I was only early 20s, I was in probably 17, 18. They said, why don't we write a story and whoever writes the best story in a month wins the prize.
Oh.
And I didn't know then that I could write grown-up stuff, because I was writing stuff when I was a kid. And I said, okay, I'm in on it. Basically, that was when the first idea for my rat story came, which we'll talk about in a bit. That's basically the first idea for my rat story came about in 92, 93. And I tell you this, after one day, when the kids saw what I was writing, they gave up.
Yeah.
They gave up, right? And the teacher obviously said, you're not supposed to be writing stories when you're doing this. But she says, but it's that good. In your spare time, you can keep writing it. And I think I did about 40 odd pages of it. And I just kept it. I think I've got them somewhere written down. But as you get older, you go back onto the stuff that you wrote so many years before. You think, oh my God, that is terrible. That is not written well. That is like, that is, what the hell is that? But the idea is there. The basics is still there. So I was doing all of that. So for me, I don't think so. Accolades wise, I'm not one of those guys. I'm not one of those glory hunter writers. The glory hunter writers that because I've written a story that I think I'm something special. I think I'm not the king, and I want to be rewarded. Because in my view of it all, I don't think writing is hard. I don't think it's hard to write a story. I just think it's hard to write a story that people want to read. Do you know what I mean? If somebody wants to read, if it's a good read, that's you've done something good then. But writing stories, everybody's writing stories now. It's getting that story to be really good that people say, and people want to talk about it as well. That is the good thing about it. But that's not me. I'm not that guy that wants I don't write because I want to be a millionaire. It would be good. It would be good. It'll be good. But I kind of write because I can't stop writing, I can't stop creating stories. And I was doing horror for quite a long time. But then sometimes at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, I'm waking up thinking, whoa, that's a good idea. I need to get downstairs and write that down. Let me write that down. So basically that's me. I think it's basically my imagination obviously takes me into another world. And for me, that's why I think that's basically why I do it. So I can disappear into another world for a while. I know it's been a zombie world for quite a long time, but that's what I do. I don't do the writing because I want to be up there, and everywhere. I write 'cause I can't stop. I can't stop doing it. So that's basically what it's all about with me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe tomorrow I'll probably stop tomorrow now. I'll probably just that's it, finished now.
I know. I love that. I mean, there's a lot of people I know that they write and they try to mold their writing so that it suits what the publishers want and that sort of thing, and they lose themselves, I think, in the process.
Yeah.
And the joy, and they lose their voice. So I love that. That's a really good attitude to have, I think, is that you're writing for you and because you love it. And because you love that.
Yes. And you just pointing out something there, which I've had a conversation with somebody last week, because obviously I write screenplays as well. What you just said there, I wrote a ghost story a few years ago, which was signed up for a producer to make into a film. Obviously nothing happened, and he's come back for it. but now he wants loads of changes, loads of this, loads of so the original idea that he thought was good 2 years ago, he now wants bits changed all over the place, which then for me thinks it don't sound like my story anymore. So he's taken over the role, because if you're the director, you're going to be changing it anyway. So I've given him the role now to change what he wants to change, because it was giving me a headache, because he wants me to do that, then change something else. And thought, oh my God. So yeah, so I'll see what he does with it, which probably means I'll get paid less. But like we said, I'm not in it for the big books. I'm in it. I just got to start writing. That's basically it. So
the money's the bonus, I think, on the side, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is. I mean, the bad thing I think about writing for me, compared to if you had a 9-to-5 job where you go to work and you come home and you can switch off. You can't switch off when you're a writer. I've noticed that. No. Because you're 24/7. Your brain's just going 24/7, thinking of things to put down. Give me 5 minutes, let me write this down. Yeah. So so that's basically what it is. Yeah.
I love that when you get an idea at a ridiculous time of the morning, that you actually do get up and write it, because I think, oh yeah, I'll remember that, and I never do. So I think
did you ever speak into a dictaphone years ago when you had ideas? Because that's what people told me to do when I was younger, speak into a dictaphone and have it by your bedside.
Yes,
I tried it for a bit. But
that's not a bad idea. That's not, but that's something at least. But I think the whole getting up and actually writing it down while it's fresh in your head.
Oh God, yeah, and I'm there. Yeah, I'm there. Then I'm up for hours. So I'm up for hours trying to jot down the idea, trying to make like a cover for it. I mean, this is it. So I got this.
No, if you don't do it straight away, you lose it, I think. So just park screenwriting for a sec. You've written 6 horror-themed fiction novels. Can you tell us a little bit more about those, or about one of them? Depends on how much detail you want to go into.
Okay, so the first one that I wrote was obviously the start, the Killer Rats one that I've just started talking about. So I wrote the STARS project. So STARS is Science Testing Aimed at a Rat Survival, right? So it's basically a story about we need rats' blood to help to heal the sick. So we have to like rats in this story. People don't like rats, but we have to like rats because we need them to help, But then like a virus came, like a COVID virus, and it wiped out a lot of the rats. And then they built this lab in the main town in the story. They built this lab to breed the rats again, to carry on, get the blood, the experimental stuff. But then after a few years, the rats have said, this is enough. We've had enough of this now. All this stuff's going on. We've had enough of this. And they've escaped. And then they basically go around attacking people in this town. And then the police have to get together and they have to decide whether to try to recapture the rats because they're useful or wipe them out. I've left it open, I always leave my books leave them up in case I carry on with them. And then I wrote Bedbugs, which is basically a story about tiny alien bedbugs that eat people. Bedbugs, no one likes bedbugs. But then imagine them bedbugs actually eat people, not just bite people. Now, I think part of the reason why I wrote that story is because I read this comic book when I was a kid. My stepfather had this comic book. And I remember the last page, and these tiny insects, they basically ate to the bone this woman and this guy at the end.
Yeah.
So that's the stuff I was reading when I was a kid. And I kind of must have remembered that for my bedbugs. And I wrote a 4-part zombie story called Clifton Falls. Now, if you think about it, I started writing Clifton Falls in 1999 till 2001. As one big book, I was told to take chunks out because it's too big. And obviously back then, I didn't know how to release books. I didn't know how to bring them out. I didn't know where to go with the book. So that didn't get released until 2010. And then the rats came out eventually later on. But I was getting good reviews for the zombie one. So what I did about 4 years ago was I took that original book and then rewrote it as 2 books. I added extra bits to make it so I can do 2 books. And then people kept saying to me, well, you know, when are you going to do any more? And if you remember, I started writing that in 1999 to 2001, when obviously the idea of zombies was different to what it is now. You know, the idea of the dead coming back to life, it was way different in 2001 to what you would expect them to be like now. So can you imagine those zombies from that era, and then me writing part 3 and part 4, I can go crazy now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When I wrote the other one, there's no mobile phones in it. There's no. I had to restart it so it was more modern. So I had to put things in, like there's phones and there's all sorts in there. Before it was old school, and it was like old school. Let's get a telephone out and stuff like that. So so part 3 and part 4, which is doing really good in comments and reviews. The zombies are just crazy now. Yeah. So that's basically, they're the 6 books that I've got so far. Not saying I don't want to go back and write anymore, but I get more attention with screenplays. I don't know why. I get more. I get to talk to a lot more people, and a lot more interest comes in with the screenplays that I write. So hopefully, if people start liking my screenplay ideas, they might then say, "Oh, I tell you what, we'll start reading your books."
Yes.
Now, I use one idea to push the other one. You know, use one idea, and then it pushes the one, and people start noticing. People don't notice that I've written books in my town. People just think I'm the guy that says he writes books. I don't think people know I write anything.
Yeah.
And my library will take my books, but they won't tell anybody that I'm the writer in my town.
Weird.
They won't even let me put posters up because it's against the policies, because they say no one reads horror books in this town. That's what they say.
Wow.
So if I write a children's book or a fantasy book or something like that, they want to make me a cup of tea, you know, bring him down, we'll have a chat with him. I can't even get a chat with him. They won't even talk to me because I write horror.
Yeah, but they're also making assumptions about everybody else who lives in the town as well.
Well, yeah, I spoke to people on the street and they said, we like horror. Yeah. But the library's saying you don't. The library's saying no one likes it. So, and they've got a horror section. It's just weird. It's so strange.
As you've already said that you've got an amazing imagination. So where does your inspiration come from, do you think? I mean,
right, so basically all of my books have come from my childhood, right? Because if you think about it, I wrote a Killer Rats book. I read James Herbert's The Rat Stories when I was a youngster.
Yep.
So that probably would have been in my mind growing up. So that's probably why when I was at college and say write a story, I started writing a Killer Rats book straight away.
Yep.
Now, I don't know if you remember the old saying, night, sleep tight and don't let the bedbugs bite.
Yes.
My mum said that to me when I was a kid. And I was so scared that I would sleep under the covers. Because I thought the bedbugs were coming, yeah? So my brain for years was thinking these bedbugs are going to come and eat me, yeah?
Yeah.
And that obviously is one of the main reasons why I wrote a bedbugs story, because I wanted to point out my version of what I thought the saying meant. And if to go back to so the zombie story that I wrote, when I was 11 in 1980, my mother put this zombie film on. And I was the only child, I think, that watched it, and I couldn't move after. I couldn't even go to bed. I was so scared. I couldn't move. Now, watching that film now, it's a funny film.
Yes.
But back then, it was before the movies were cut. My Zombie Story 1 to 2, the first ones I wrote in the 90s, were based on that film. So that's basically where the inspirations come from so far for the books. I'm thinking about taking my screenplays now and maybe writing them as books. Because the idea is already there. In my head, I'm thinking a screenplay is 90 pages, say roughly 90 minutes of a film.
Right.
A book could be, you know, 250 to 300 pages. So if
Yep.
you take one page of a screenplay and turn it into 3 pages of a book, or 4 pages, you know, depends how you do it, then you've got a book there. You've got it sorted. And
Yes.
I've told a few writers this recently
Mm.
because they want to go the other way around. They want to write a book, then want to turn it into a screenplay. I said, well, you ever tried the other way around? Because screenplays take you a few months to put together. Books could take you ages to put together.
Yes.
I said, you've got the screenplay, the basics there, and then you just turn that, build it into a book.
Thinking about your characters, you've written about zombies, ghosts, alien insects, which
Yeah.
sort of freaked me a little bit.
Yeah.
That whole bedbugs
They
thing.
are scratchy. They do make people itch. Those bedbugs make people itch. The
I
top,
know,
yeah,
but
they make people itch.
I used to have horrific nightmares when I was sort of before my teens, and I did dream once that that all my hair was being eaten by some bug that had come out of the wall.
Yeah.
Kids' imagination, you sort of really need to tap into that, I think, as a writer.
It's like the imagination's gone now. There's no imagination anymore because you're getting things are being put in front of you all the time. You don't get to think about your own stuff anymore.
Yes,
which is sad, really, because we grew up in a world, you know, where we didn't have all the mod fancy technology and all the rest of it. And we were happy, you know, we were happy playing on the street, playing TIG or whatever, you know, playing silly games, skipping rope or whatever it is, hopscotch and all the rest of that. But now kids just want to play it on a computer game.
Yes.
They don't want to do anything else. They don't want to think about anything.
Yeah.
So what they're going to think about, what they're going to dream about when they're at night? They're not going to dream about anything apart from computer games.
That is true. That is a really good point.
It is sad, really.
It is. So just back to your characters, is there a creature or a concept that you think would be a step too far, sort of like an area that you wouldn't go into?
Creatures, no, because I think with creatures, it's kind of like fictional anyway, kind of like you make them as you go along, you know. I don't think I'd ever step into kind of like extreme horror stuff, you know. I add silly stuff in my stories. Not spoofy, naked guns, but I try to break up the comedy with one-liners. I remember some readers read the zombie book years ago when I first wrote it that says, I'm not sure if I was meant to laugh, but I kept laughing. It's good, it's gory and it's violent and whatever, but it's some of it's quite funny. Yeah. And I think, was I meant to laugh at this? Because it's actually quite funny. So I think for me, because I write kind of comedy kind of stuff, and I want my stuff, I think my stuff can be read by 14-year-old plus, you know, as long as you're a bit mature, you know. I think 14-year-old plus, concept wise, I don't think I'll go the other side of it. Really deep, gory, extreme horror. I'll lose my identity if I did that. As the comical kind of guy that likes to make people laugh and likes to tell good stories. Nah, so creatures wise, nothing, because it's I've not seen a real creature in real life. So cause it's all made up. Nah, I'm fine with that.
I think it's important for people to know that within the horror genre, it is really broad. So you do have that sort of more spoofy, like comical horror, right down to like your psychological horror, but then your slasher horror, which I don't like. But what I'm saying is don't say I don't like horror until you sort of realize there are
different styles.
So you self-published your novels? Yes. Yeah. So why did you choose to go with self-publication?
Because I did try to go the traditional way. I did try to do it. I did write loads of letters to publishers back in the day. The olden, when we used to always write letters all the time, but a lot of them didn't get back to me, or it wasn't their genre, or you know, or that kind of thing. And then eventually, I did find an indie publisher for the zombie book. So this is a kid. She had a nice cover for it, and it was doing okay in America. And then a bigger indie publisher came along, and people were saying good things about him, right? So I told her that they want to take on my Rats book and they want to take on the zombie book. They want to take on 2 of my books. Maybe Bedbugs as well. I can't remember if Bedbugs was in there. And she said, to be honest with you, because she's so small, she says, maybe it's wise for me to branch out and go with the big boys, the bigger people. So she gave me my book back, and then I released it with the other company. So, and then I found out after they got the book and they were doing all these edits they were putting in there, the cover art that they put in there. So I'd already had a cover art for it all ready to go. They did a cover art which was just terrible compared to what I already had, and the edits were just basic, nothing exciting, and other things. I've noticed other things are a bit weird. So then I realised that they were just basically like a self-publisher, like I was before. They're just a self-publisher with a fancy logo and a website. That's basically what they were. I wasn't one of those. I wasn't one of those people that was like, what they say goes, because I'd already done it before by myself. I was with them for 1 year, and I've realised, do you know how much they pay me in a year?
I can't even imagine.
$1. $1.
So,
it was crazy because people were saying that people were saying, oh, we're reading your books. And I got $1. I released the Rats book on my own in 2018. That's when I started going on my own, bigger than before. I got my own people in, my own cover people in, and my own formatters in, my own, all the things in, editors in.
So just in general, so you've and I wanted to say before, with your experience that you had with that very unethical so-called publisher, there are a lot of sharks out there, and there is a lot of sharks. There's a lot of people that just go, I'm really good in publishing, and they're just going to take you for a ride, and so many people get sucked into it. But in general, what are some changes that you would love to see in publishing or in film production, if you want to go down that path? Changes that might benefit new authors.
So I wrote a children's story called The Land at the End of the Trees, right? It's about a boy and a girl, and the mum and the grandma, and all the rest of the characters are cartoon, kind of like Incredibles meets Monsters Inc., that kind of thing. Now this South African producer phoned me up, and he said, Lee, I love the title of the children's story. I want that. I want to make it into a film. I've got connections in America. I've got connections in England. We can all get together and we'll all make this as a film. I said, what about a contract? He says, I don't do contracts. He says, my word is my bond. And he expected me to say, oh, great, that's fantastic, But obviously, I didn't fall for it, obviously. But what I'm saying is, a lot of writers who are trying to make it will probably fall for it, not on purpose, because these people talk the talk, they're really large. So this is what this is the hard thing about, like, for new authors, is you've got to be one step ahead of all these people. You've got to be thinking clearly all the time.
But just to cycle back, you made the point that anybody can slap together a logo and call themselves a publisher, and that's
I can do it. It's
anybody
crazy.
Can do it. So do your homework. So thinking about having your book or your screenplay, if you are writing screenplays, actually optioned for film, which you have had numerous times. And for the people I know here in Australia that have had that happen, it's a really long process, like years and years. And sometimes it just it goes along and you think it's great, and then it's just boom, silence. Do you have any advice for people who are thinking that they want to pursue that goal, or thinking that they'd like to write for screen?
Right. So for me personally, as I've found out that I kind of like got into screenwriting differently. I didn't pursue a screenwriting career, I kind of got involved by accident because somebody thought I was a screenwriter, basically. So that's how I got involved. But I would say to them, like, if an author's got ambitions, to see the story turned into a film,
Yeah.
and then they need to push it. They need to push it into the movie world. They need to push it themselves, because I don't think the movie world's going to come to them
Yes.
unless it's a big seller, unless it's something massive. So I'm thinking now authors have to do more than just be authors now.
Yeah.
You got to be like, you have to have more strings to your bow now. You need to do more stuff. So in 2014, I had a phone call from a British movie director, but I think he was living in Qatar. And he said to me, Lee, I've got an idea for a vampire dark comedy. I want you to write it as a screenplay. And I'm thinking, what's going on? So, and I didn't say anything. I just pretended I was a screenwriter, right? Yeah, I want you to write this story. I've got this basic idea, blah, blah, blah. So I jotted down that, be professional, jotted down. So I spoke to my screenwriter, who did my first couple of stories into screenplays.
Yeah.
And he said to me, Lee, you write like it's a movie anyway. Yeah. Your stories read like films. People have said to you they felt like they were inside your stories. They felt like they was there. The characters were their mates. You could do it.
Yeah. So
I wrote this vampire dark comedy, and it took me 6 weeks to put together, right? And I sent it to him, and guess what he said? It's not for me.
Oh shit.
It's not for me. I could have took it badly. But what I say is, the positive side to that is, he got me into writing screenplays.
Yes.
If he hadn't phoned me, I probably would be still sitting here trying to write books or whatever, you know what I mean? Because I got the taste for writing screenplays, and other producers have liked the screenplay. They think it's a good idea for a screenplay, but obviously it's the financing side of it. And another thing that I've noticed since I've been writing screenplays is that a lot of producers, right, will expect the screenwriter, to fund the movie.
Oh.
Now, the old days, what I found out the old days was, you're the screenwriter, you write the stories, you send them off. Now, a lot of these producers will ask you to fund it.
Wow.
So I went from being the writer, then I had producers, then I had investors all talking to me on Zoom. The investors will come along, and then they will say, yeah, great. Yeah, I'll put $500,000 into your story. No problem. But you need to pay me 10 grand first, right?
No.
I said, what am I paying you 10 grand for?
Yeah.
What am I paying you 10 grand for? You're the guy paying me some money. And they'll turn around and say it's admin fees that cost 10 grand. What kind of pens have they got? They've got the posh ones. When you're writing books, it's just you and your little bubble, working away to try to bring a story to life and get out of it. But once you step from that into talking to producers, talking to actors, talking to directors, talking to investors, I've noticed it's a lot more headaches, and you're trying to work out who's who, what they want, and then you have to ask somebody else for advice. Have you heard of so and so? You know, can you tell me more about so and so? So it's all headaches, because you're thinking about that one, you're thinking about that one, you're thinking about this one, but you really just want to write something. You want to write something. Yeah. So if you are going to go from books to the bigger thing, you need to just, properly invest a lot into it. But you have to be good at saying no.
Yes, and it's the same with publishing. It's like do your homework, and
yes,
those times that you've said no, trust your gut. If something feels off, trust your gut. Don't see that little shiny object, because I think that's how you get done. So you mentioned earlier too about authors need to have more skills basically than just writing. So and you have a number of skill sets. So you mentioned that you do book trailer creation, cover design, proofreading, editing. You mentioned that you're good at darts and tennis playing.
And a little bit of singing from time to time, yeah.
Yes. Oh, okay. So as a self-published author, you obviously feel or advocate for other authors to broaden their skill sets in similar ways. But do you think necessarily we have to be sort of a one-person band, so to speak? Do we need to be able to do everything?
I think if you find the right connections, you don't need to do it.
Yeah.
If you've got a decent publisher gets in touch, a decent editor gets in touch, a decent, whatever gets in touch, then you haven't got to step out of your comfort zone because you know you got the right people, yeah?
Yeah.
I've never been able to find the right people for my ideas, so
Yeah.
I've had to learn it all myself.
Yeah.
So, and I'm now editing for other people,
Yeah.
I'm doing book covers for other people. I'm doing trailers, because in my head, I'm not saying to myself, I want to learn to do that. You just do it because you think, how am I going to get better at what I'm doing? I've got to do that. I've got to create this. I've got to do that. And then you just learn it and you just do it.
Yeah.
And so basically what I was saying, if you are going to branch out and do other things like the editing and the book covers or whatever it is, you got to remember that your main job or the main job you want to do is writing.
Yeah.
And that keeps you away from writing.
Yes.
Because you're doing other stuff. Because the paid gigs are coming in. So, yeah, it's great to get the money coming in, but then you've stopped doing what you are meant to be doing.
If you're self-publishing, it does save money and that sort of thing. But you're absolutely right. It takes you away from your
imagination, yeah.
Yeah, because it does.
Because
it's not just a matter of,
because the four screenplays that I'm writing, I haven't had time since September, October. So for the last 3 months, I've been doing other things. And so I have not been able to get onto the screenplay writing format and carry on with the screenplay. I'm thinking, I've got to get into it, but then something else comes. Yeah. Can you edit this for me? Can you do a book for this? Yeah. So they've got to be prepared to not be writing anything.
Yeah, so you mentioned earlier your horror that you write always has that touch of humor as well, and that's your style, and you describe yourself as a funny guy with a unique mind. But we often hear with the whole humor side of thing and injecting humor into things or writing pure comedy, you often hear about the sadness and the trauma that is behind humor, and start thinking about mental health, which is a huge issue worldwide, probably even, I don't know whether it's worse since COVID or people are just more aware and talking about it more. Do you think that writing can actually help with mental health?
For me personally, my granddad passed away in 2001, and that was bad. That was bad for me. Yeah, so that's when I got more deep into writing. And obviously I did the zombie book before, but then I got more deeper and I started writing more and more stuff. So I'm not going to be the only person that's suffered with depression over the years. I've seen most people have at some point. But for me, I've noticed that when I write, I'm taken to another world, I'm taken into another world. And then, so basically, everything that you've had that's gone wrong with you in your life, everything that you're sad about, I put it into my stories,
Yeah.
And it's like, for me, it's kind of like it's like my own personal diary. I'm putting all the sad stuff into, even though I write horror stories, or whatever stories I'm writing, I'm putting all my sad stuff into it, even though you can't see the words, it's going in there. And then, like, the stress, I don't feel stress, most of the time. Even though I probably am stressed, but I don't feel it like before I was writing. I probably felt it a lot more. I don't feel it so much because one thing I'm doing is I'm just letting it all out, letting all out the grief, letting all out the sadness, and I'm putting it into words and putting it into a story. I know people used to do the diary things, it used to be popular in the old days, isn't it? Diaries. Everyone's writing diaries all over the place. So, and I think it's the same kind of thing. So for me, I end up in my own little bubble, my own little fantasy world, yeah. And what I like about it is I can control what goes on.
Yes.
can control what is happening. If it's horror, if it's whatever goes on, I'm in control of who does what in my stories. Yeah. So in real life, obviously you can't control it all in real life. So I think that helps as well. So everything that's happened badly to me, I then put it into my stories, and then I can mix it all around, change it all around. I can change it, and then obviously I'm not saying I feel better, but I just know that I'm not finished writing and thinking sad stuff. I'm just writing it. I find it a lot easier when I'm writing to let it all out. Yeah.
Memoirists, for example, work through their experiences and come to terms with it and come to understand it as well, which there's no reason why you can't do that in fiction as well, because as we said before, a lot of what fiction writers write comes from personal experience.
You're probably not thinking you're doing it.
Yes.
But you are adding something in there that's from your life, or from what you've seen, or what someone else you know is doing. You're adding stuff in there that you've seen. Yeah.
It's funny when you look back and you're like, oh, okay, that's where that came from. But you're right. Sometimes you don't even realise that you've done it.
There's a question for you quickly then. When you write something and then say you go back over it, say a month or so later, do you get to the point where I can't remember doing that? Yes. I can't remember writing that. Yeah, I do it all the time. I can't remember writing that bit. What's going on? Yeah. I can't remember doing it.
Who wrote it? So for me, it's either, gee, who wrote that? That's really good. Or more often it's like, God, that's rubbish. Who wrote that?
That's terrible.
Can't be me.
it just proves that we get sucked into this other world. I think I'm two different people.
Yeah.
You know, I'm the guy talking to you now, and then I'm the writer guy. Yeah. And the writer guy doesn't know what I'm doing, and I don't know what he's doing.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking, well, I can't remember that bit. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah.
Oh no, I think that's funny. Before we go, Lee, can you just let everybody know where they can find you and your work as well?
So basically, I have a website. And if you go look on my website, it's Lee Andrew Taylor Wicks. You know, the company Wicks.
Yes.
So if anybody's on my website, that means you get to see all of what I do, not just the books. You get to see what screenplays I've written, what trailers I've done, what book covers I've done, what I'm doing now, what new stories I'm doing. It's all in my website. But books wise, Amazon, I would type in Lee Andrew Taylor, then you should get me, because I think I'm the only Lee Andrew Taylor. Because I was LA Taylor, but then there's a few LA Taylors. But then I was Lee Taylor, and there's a few Lee Taylors. And then I put my full name in there. And so far, I think I'm the only one. So unless someone else has decided they're going to become themselves Lee Andrew Taylor and try to steal my zombie book, I don't.
Anyway, Lee, thank you so much for your time. This has been fantastic.
Okay, thank you.
Just want to encourage everybody to, to go and check out your website and have a look at
what spread the word. It'd be fantastic.
Yep. Absolutely.
And everybody can have a laugh at me. Thank you very much.
So much.
See you later.
See ya.
Yeah, cheers.